All right, good afternoon, members of the jury. Any matters that need to be addressed to the court before we continue? All right, y'all got your pads and pens back? Very good. All right, state call your next witness, please.
State calls Victoria Fender.
Victoria Fender.
You got a real.
I do.
You guys are heard it. You heard it.
If you would raise your right hand to be sworn, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Have a seat in the witness stand, please. Danny. Let's go. And you may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Fender.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Victoria Fender.
And Ms. Fender, have you ever been convicted of a felony offense?
Yes, sir, 5 of them.
5 times.
Yes, sir.
And how about a misdemeanor crime involving theft or dishonesty?
2 of those.
Twice.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Fender, do you know the defendant in this case, Mr. Jamar Tilley?
Yes, sir, I do.
And how long have you known him?
About 4 months.
Well, we're here today to talk about a case involving an incident that occurred on, didn't even notice, sorry. We're here today to talk about an incident that occurred in Suwannee County at Gold Leaf Pond on April the 20th, 2020.
Yes, sir.
Now, when I say how long have you known the defendant, had you known the defendant prior to April 20th of 2020?
Yes, sir.
About how long?
About 4 months.
And how did you meet him?
Through a roommate of mine.
Through a roommate?
Yes, sir.
And what do you call him?
Juvie.
Juvie?
Yes, sir.
Is that like a nickname or something?
Yes, sir.
And do you know someone named Aaron Donaldson?
Yes, sir, I do.
And how do you know Aaron Donaldson?
Aaron Donaldson is my ex-boyfriend.
Your ex-boyfriend?
Yes, sir.
Now, Ms. Fender, you have been charged with and pled guilty to the armed robbery of Golden Leaf Pond on April the 20th, have you not?
Yes, sir, I have.
And did you participate in the robbery of Mr. Alan Jones's store?
Yes, sir, I did.
Who took part with you, Ms. Fender?
Juvie and Aaron.
Juvie and Aaron?
Yes, sir.
And when you're saying Juvie, you're referring to Mr. Jamar Tilley?
Yes, sir.
Is that person that you're referring to here in the courtroom with us today?
Yes, sir, he is.
Where is he seated and what's he wearing, Ms. Fender?
He's seated 2 people in front of me with a black suit on.
Thank you. Now, April the 20th, you told us that you pled guilty to the armed robbery of Mr. Alan Jones at Golden Leaf Pond. Had you ever been to his store before April the 20th?
On April 18th.
April the 18th. So 2 days before?
Yes, sir.
And on April the 18th, did you go by yourself or did anybody go with you?
I went with Juvie and Aaron.
Now, did you actually go into the store?
Yes, sir. Me and Juvie went into the store.
On April the 18th.
Yes, sir.
How did you get there?
In Juvie's car.
Who went into the store?
Me and Juvie.
Well, what about Mr. Aaron Donaldson? Where was he located?
He stayed inside the car.
And what was the purpose of going to Mr. Jones's Gold Leaf Pond on April the 18th?
To sell a ring.
To sell a ring?
Yes, sir.
Whose ring?
Juvie's.
Was there any particular price that y'all were seeking to obtain for the ring?
Around $4,000.
Are you able to see that television monitor okay from where you're seated?
Yes, sir, I can.
Well, if you look towards it, the screen is displaying right now a video that's already been entered into evidence at State's Exhibit number And I've got it set up beginning at time of 12:08 on April the 18th. I'm going to hit the play button. I want you to watch it with me. What vehicle do we see just pulled up to the pawn shop?
That's Juvie's vehicle.
Has there been any plan or discussion, Ms. Fender, at this point in time as to an intent or a desire to rob Mr. Allen Jones?
No, sir.
Was your sole intent to try to sell this ring?
Yes, sir.
Who do we see getting out of the driver's side?
That's myself, sir.
That's you in the pink shirt?
Yes, sir.
And the individual walking behind you, who is that?
Juvie.
What are you doing right now in the video?
Asking the victim to look at a ring that we were trying to sell. And after that, he checked it out to see if it was real.
Okay. Is that what he's doing right now?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jones? So what are you and the individual you identified as Mr. Tilley doing?
I think we were just standing there waiting on him to let us know if he was interested.
Okay. Why did the two of you go into the store, Ms. Fender, as opposed to you and Mr. Donaldson or Mr. Tilley and Mr. Donaldson?
On this particular day, because I was the one that asked to sell the ring, and it looks better for a white female and a black male to go in instead of two black males.
Is that your opinion, or is that a discussion that you and the defendant had?
We've had that discussion.
What's going on right now? What are y'all talking about?
I believe the victim I know the victim was telling us that he wasn't interested in the ring. He had a similar ring to it, that we were asking for too much, and then he advised us to take the ring to Lake City to get it appraised. He basically was just saying that he wasn't interested in it or the price that we were asking for it.
I see the vehicle backing up. Where do you head to after you leave Mr. Jones's store?
To Lake City.
Lake City. And what is the purpose in traveling to Lake City?
To see if we could find another place to get the ring appraised and possibly sell the ring.
So was that the next stop on your tour, so to speak? You leave from there to go to Lake City?
Yes, sir.
And where'd you go to in Lake City?
I believe it was Empire Pond.
Empire Pond?
Yes, sir.
And do you know approximately where that's located?
In Lake City.
After you left Mr. Jones's store, how was the defendant acting?
Was upset that Mr. Jones wasn't interested in the ring. Said he didn't know what he was talking about, that he knew the ring was worth more than what Mr. Jones was asking for.
And I want to show you now, Ms. Fender, what's already been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 9B as in boy. Where'd you park when you got to Empire Pond?
At a shed place beside the pawn shop.
Did you go in?
Not immediately, but I did.
Who are we looking at here on 9B?
That is Juvie, and behind him is Aaron.
Aaron Donaldson?
Yes, sir.
So the multicolored shirt here is Mr. Tilley.
Yes, sir.
And the individual that just walked in on the left in the jacket, that is Mr. Donaldson.
Correct.
And you're at the park next door at the shed place?
Correct.
Did you stay there at the shed place the whole time?
No, sir. I eventually moved the car because a worker at the shed place came out and yelled at me.
Is that your car moving at the top of the screen?
That's Juvie's car, yes, sir.
But you're driving.
Yes, sir.
Now we have another angle from the parking lot of Empire Pond. What's previously been identified. Is that you pulling in?
Yes, sir, that's me.
You're in the car by yourself?
Yes, sir.
Why'd you stop right there?
I'm not for sure.
Okay. Now it appears the vehicle you've identified as you driving has turned around in the parking lot now is facing back out.
Yes, sir.
Why are you positioned in that manner, Ms. Finley?
At that time, I thought they were gonna come out so we could leave.
Was there any discussion or plan in place to effectuate a robbery of Empire Pond?
No, sir.
And what was the purpose of going there?
To get the ring appraised and to possibly sell the ring.
The same as with the trip to Mr. Jones's.
Correct.
Try to sell the ring. Is that you that just got out of the car?
Yes, sir, that's me.
Why don't you leave it parked right there?
I got out to tell them that, to see if they were, what was going on, basically, if the guy was interested, if he was gonna buy it, because if they weren't ready, I was gonna get something to eat. But then the guy had said something to me about if I needed help, here he is right here. And then, so I parked in the parking lot because I seen that they were still busy inside the store
Okay,
and went back in.
I got you. I see the car backing up, and who's that walking over towards it?
The first one is Juvie and the one in the jacket is Aaron.
What are you and the defendant talking about right now?
They were telling me that there was customers, that there was other customers in front of them, and that it would be a moment.
You ever go in the store?
Yes, sir, I did.
To your knowledge, was the ring sold there at Empire Pond?
No, sir, it was not.
Suwannee, but where do you go after, where do you go after you leave Empire Farm?
To Jacksonville.
And April the 18th is a Saturday.
Yes, sir.
How long do you stay in Jacksonville?
2 days.
2 days. So when do you leave Jacksonville?
On a Monday morning.
And who all left Jacksonville?
Me, Juvie, and Aaron.
And when you leave Jacksonville, what car do you take?
Juvie's.
That same small silver vehicle we've seen on all these other videos?
Yes, sir.
And who's driving when you leave Jacksonville?
Juvie.
And when you leave Jacksonville, where do you travel to?
Live Oak.
Was there ever a plan or a discussion had between you and the defendant as to returning to Gold Leaf Pond in Live Oak, Florida?
When we got to Live Oak, yes, sir.
When you got to Live Oak?
Well, maybe the outside of it, not right in Live Oak, but yes, sir, there was.
Okay. What was the discussion had between you and the defendant?
To rob the pawn shop and take the jewelry.
Had y'all looked at jewelry while you were in the pawn shop?
On the 18th, Mr. Jones showed us a ring similar to the ring that we were trying to sell him. So yes, we did see a couple of pieces.
Okay. Was there any discussion had or reason given as to why a return trip to Mr. Jones's as opposed to, say, Empire or anywhere else you've been?
No, sir.
So as you're getting to Live Oak, is the first you become aware that a return trip is planned to Gold Leaf Pond?
Yes, sir.
Is that true?
Yes, sir.
And so walk me through, Ms. Fender, what happens when you get back to Live Oak? First thing.
We went to Walmart. I went inside Walmart, stole some clothing for us to wear. When I came out of Walmart, they had switched seats. Aaron got into the driver's seat of the vehicle.
So when you first got to Live Oak, you went to Walmart. You went in and took some clothing.
Yes, sir.
And what was the reason for that? Surely you were clothed when you went into Walmart.
So we could change. Like after the robbery, take those clothes off and be in different clothing.
So to have something to wear during a robbery.
Yes, sir.
And so you go in and what you get?
I believe I know one pair of pants, gator pants, colored pants, and 2 gator sweatshirts.
Okay. And who put on those items of clothing?
Me and Juvie.
And you said, before I started interrupting you again, that when you came out of Walmart, they had switched seats.
Yes, sir.
You said earlier that Mr. Tilley was driving from Jacksonville to Live Oak. So when you come out of Walmart with clothing, who's in the driver's seat now?
Aaron.
And what seat is Mr. Tilley in?
The front passenger seat of the vehicle.
Do you get into the car?
Yes, sir, into the back seat.
And where do you go at that point in time?
We pulled out of Walmart and made a left down a side road, and it came to a dead end, and Juvie exited the vehicle and shot his firearm
Okay.
into some woods.
Why on earth would anyone get out of the car and just shoot their firearm into the woods?
Because he and all of us knew that we were going to rob a pawn shop, and he wanted to make sure that the firearm worked in case he needed to use it.
Was there any discussion had at this point in time, Ms. Fender, of an intent to shoot Mr. Jones?
No, sir, just an attempt to rob the pawn shop.
And test fired the gun just in case?
Yes, sir.
Who had the gun?
Juvie.
Was it provided to Mr. Tilley by either of y'all, Mr. Donaldson or yourself in the car?
No, sir, not in the car.
Whose gun was that?
It was Juvie's gun.
Okay. So now we have left Walmart. We have traveled down a side street to what I assume is a secluded area. Would I be correct?
Yes, sir. It comes to a dead end. There's a few houses down that road, but at the end of it, it's more secluded than the beginning.
And Mr. Tilley has test fired his gun.
Yes, sir.
Then what?
Then we leave, we travel back down that road to the main road, headed towards the pawn shop. There was discussions about how I should act, going into the pawn shop, not to act nervous. We came to an intersection.
There's discussions of how you should act.
Yes, sir.
Is someone directing you how you are to act?
Yes, sir.
Who?
Juvie.
How are you being directed to act?
Not nervous, not scared, to be normal.
Is there any discussion between you and the defendant as to what you are to say or anything of that nature upon entering the pawn shop?
Yes, sir, there was.
Well, what was the plan? What were you going to say?
To tell Mr. Jones that the ring that we had previously bought in there on the 18th had been sold, and we were interested in purchasing some of his jewelry.
So you've left the secluded area, you're back to the main road, and you're discussing how you're to act. Are you traveling south towards the pawn shop at this point in time?
Yes, sir.
Now, and we'll get to the video in a minute, but do you stop anywhere else before you get to Gold Leaf Pawn?
Yes, sir.
Where?
At the intersection, we took a left, and that led us to a dirt road, and we all had a discussion about who would carry the firearm. We got out the vehicle. Juvie got out the vehicle, said it wouldn't look right on him because his pants and his shirt, it just didn't cover it. It was too heavy. So we came to the conclusion that we would put it in the book bag I had on me.
Okay, so you have a book bag,
Yes, sir.
and you said you stopped at an intersection. Are you from Live Oak?
No, sir.
Are you real familiar with the area?
No, sir.
And so, do you know where Gold Leaf Pond is, right?
Yes, sir.
And what's right next to Gold Leaf Pond if you're headed back toward Walmart?
A Melody Church.
Okay. And so the intersection that you're talking about where y'all have pulled off and gone to a little dirt road area,
Yes, sir.
is that the last intersection before you get to Melody Christian Church and Gold Leaf Pond, or we're talking further up in town?
It's the last one.
And there's a discussion about the firearm.
Yes, sir.
And can you go over that with me just one more time?
Yes, sir. The discussion was who was going to carry it, where it was going to be placed. Juvie didn't want to have it on him because you could see it through the shirt, or it was too heavy for his pants, one or the other. So we came to the conclusion that it would go in the book bag that I was carrying.
So put the firearm in the book bag.
Yes, sir.
And once that ultimate decision's been made about how the firearm is going to be transported, what's the next step in your plan?
We headed back towards the pawn shop, and we pulled over on the side of the road, and me and Juvie exited the vehicle.
Who's driving?
Aaron.
So you and the defendant exited the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Where did you go?
We started walking towards the pawn shop.
You walked in front of Melody Christian?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what about Mr. Donaldson? Did you see where he went in the vehicle?
He drove the car to the store. That's at the intersection. There's a store right there. I believe it's a Marathon.
Gotcha. So what happens when you get to Gold Leaf Pond?
We go inside. I told Mr. Jones that we were there to possibly purchase the ring that he showed us before and look at other jewelry. Mr. Jones came to the jewelry counter. Juby walked to the back of the store, was walking around. He asked, I told him I was interested in the ring, and so he got the ring out of the jewelry case.
Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir, Mr. Jones. At that time, Juby came back up front and he gave us a price for the ring, and Juby asked him if he could work out a deal with him. At that time, Mr. Jones turned around to walk towards his register, his computer. That's when Juby pulled the gun out of the book bag that I had on and shot him.
Many times.
Several times.
Then what happened?
I broke the jewelry case, took some,
What?
with my fist.
Got your hand?
No, sir.
Glass break pretty easily?
Yes, sir.
And then what?
I took the jewelry that I could get and I ran out the store.
What happened as you ran out the store?
I dropped some jewelry. I turned around to pick it up.
I'm going to show you, we had entered into evidence already as State's Exhibit number 6, previously entered as Gold Leaf Pond video, April 20th, 2020. Who's that walking up to the pawn shop?
Me and Juby.
Y'all are wearing the gator shirts you've taken from Walmart?
Yes, sir.
That was arm around your shoulder?
Yes, sir.
Why? Y'all playing any sort of role here?
No, sir.
Looking at rings? Where's Mr. Jones right now?
He's on the other side of the jury counter.
Are y'all-
He's in front of us.
Are y'all interacting with him right now?
He was getting a ring out of the case.
That was you taking the jewelry out of the case, right?
Yes, sir.
Who was that that just shot Mr. Jones?
Juvie.
Got to back it up just a little bit, Ms. Fender, to be able to capture some of the other camera angles. You have your hands over your mouth? Back there by the door?
Possibly. I didn't see. Yes, I think I.
And it looked as though, to my eyes anyway, you stopped and were bending over when you left the store.
Yes, sir.
Why?
I dropped a couple of rings.
Where did you run to?
I ran into the parking lot of the church next door, which is Melody, because I didn't see the vehicle, Juvie's car at that time, so I didn't know where it was. Once I seen the car pull up in the middle of the road and I seen Juvie enter the passenger side, the front passenger side, I ran to the vehicle and got into the back seat.
Who was driving?
Aaron Donaldson.
Where do you go after you leave Gold Leaf Pond and get into the automobile?
To Lake City.
On the ride to Lake City, what becomes of the jewelry that you have taken?
Juvie has it. I gave it to Juvie.
What became of the firearm that the defendant had used to shoot Mr. Jones?
Juvie had them. They were thrown out of the vehicle. It was thrown out of the vehicle, along with the 2 sweaters. And a ring case.
And you traveled to Lake City?
Yes, sir.
Where did you stay in Lake City?
We went to a residence. Somebody Juvie was familiar with. Me and Aaron sat there for about 45 minutes while Juvie left with.
Do you stay there at that residence?
No, sir, I stayed at a motel that night. Well, I went to a motel.
Who stayed with you?
Aaron.
You told us you're not from Live Oak, but I don't know if you told us where you're from. Where are you from?
Tallahassee.
So now we're at the point in your testimony where you're at a motel in Lake City.
Yes, sir.
How long did you stay there?
Until about 11 that night.
Who paid for the hotel?
Juvie.
And till about 11 that night?
Yes, sir.
Monday night?
Yes, sir.
And then where'd you go?
A friend of mine in Aaron's picked me up, and we went back to Tallahassee.
Did you keep any of the jewelry?
No, sir, I did not.
Is it your testimony that Mr. Tilley took possession of all jewelry?
Yes, sir.
Why did he get to keep all of it?
Because Aaron owed him money.
And you've told us already that you pled guilty to armed robbery.
Correct.
Have you been sentenced by this court yet?
No, sir.
What sentence do you expect to receive?
I'm hoping that I was going to ask for 7 years with probation and pays restitution up front.
The sentence you receive is ultimately up to the court, is it not?
Yes, sir, it is.
And as part of your plea to this charge that you have agreed to testify truthfully concerning all persons involved?
Yes, sir.
May I have just one moment, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you. May I inquire further? May I inquire further?
Yes.
Thank you. I forgot to ask you a couple of things. When you go to the store, Gold Leaf, on April 20th,
Yes, sir.
we know you're wearing the gator gear and you both are wearing masks, right?
Yes, sir.
What about gloves?
Juvie had his gloves on before entering the store, and I put mine on while we were in the store.
Was that part of the plan or the discussion, Ms. Fender?
No, sir, it just kind of happened that way. I mean, gloves were a part of the plan. I just didn't put mine on until we entered the store.
Okay. I don't think I have any further questions, Your Honor. I have a tender for cross.
All right. We're going to take a short recess. Members of the jury, about 10 minutes on this recess, give you a chance to stretch and go to the restroom. And then we'll hear the cross-examination by the defense. Again, a reminder not to discuss the case, form any opinions about it. Don't do any research or watch or listen to anything about it as well. And I have, one day we'll get a clock back in here, won't we? 2:02. I got 2:02 as well. So let's just say 2:15. That'll give you about 13 minutes for recess. Court being recessed till 2:15.
That would be the original.
Yeah. Good enough. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna shorten the life of those microphones by about 10 years.
Remain seated, court is in session.
All right, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Fender.
Good afternoon.
I want to ask you some questions about your testimony in response to Mr. Durrett's questions. Make sure that I understand what you're saying, and I may ask you a couple of questions that have not been asked at this point. To be sure, you have been convicted of 5 felony offenses?
Correct.
Okay, and they were convictions. Adjudication was not withheld. Isn't that true?
Correct.
And then you have, in addition to 5 felonies, 2 crimes of dishonesty that you've been convicted of. Isn't that true?
Correct.
Okay. And I believe you took an oath to tell the truth to this jury
Yes, sir.
before you began testifying. And that oath, you understand what it means?
Yes, sir.
You testified that you knew Mr. Tilley for approximately 4 months prior to the incidents that took place on April 18th and April 20th of 2020.
Yes, sir.
And you testified as to Aaron Donaldson at one time, especially during these time periods of April 18th to April 20th, being your significant other,
That's correct.
boyfriend. And how long had that relationship been going on prior to April 18th, April 20th?
About 4 years.
4 years. Significantly more than the time you knew Mr. Tilley.
Correct.
And you knew the vehicle as GB, Mr. Tilley, because GB's a nickname, correct?
Correct.
I believe you testified that on April 18th, GB, as you've testified, and Mr. Donaldson, and yourself went to the Gold Leaf Pawn Shop in Live Oak.
That's correct.
And you testified, if I'm wrong, let me know, that there was no discussion of any type of robbery between any of you all at that time. There was just an attempt by GB or Mr. Tilley to try to sell a ring. Isn't that true?
That's correct.
You weren't there casing the place. There was no discussions about a robbery that was planned the next day, was there?
Not on the 18th, no, sir.
Okay. When you were there on the 18th, with whom you say is Juvie, and were you both masked when you entered the store?
Yes, sir.
focus mainly on yourself because you were the only one discussing anything with him on the 18th?
I believe he focused on both of us.
Did Mr. Tilley, as you say, have any discussion with the store owner about the ring?
On the 18th?
Yes.
Yes, sir. After the store owner checked it to make sure it was real, we all three discussed prices.
And that would make sense because it was Juvie, Mr. Tilley, that was trying to sell the ring or get it at least appraised. Isn't that true?
I was trying to sell the ring, but it was Juvie's ring.
Okay. So you were doing it for him.
Correct.
So there was more discussion between you and the store owner than there was between you and Mr. Tilley.
I would say it was all even, and
Okay.
discussion between the three of us.
Okay. If I understood you correctly, the reason you went to Lake City was the store owner said that's where you should go to try to get the ring either sold or appraised.
That is correct.
At this time, no discussions about robberies whatsoever. Isn't that true?
That is correct.
And that's why you went to Lake City, isn't it?
That is correct.
Okay. You saw the video of the way you drove the car and where you parked it around or about the metal shed, salesman warehouse next door, and the pawn shop in Lake City. You saw that, didn't you not?
Yes, I did.
And you parked at different times. I'll let you describe it. I believe Mr. Durrett pointed out when initially it appeared you stopped right in the middle of the lane that was either taking you in or taking you out, but it definitely was blocking the road. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And you basically, if I remember correctly, said you don't know why you did that.
That's correct.
Because you weren't there real long.
Not very long.
No, I mean, people can see the video, they'll know. And at that point in time, you were by yourself in the car,
Yes, sir, that's correct.
okay? And you have a cell phone, don't you?
I had a cell phone, but it wasn't working at the time.
Wasn't working at the time.
No, sir.
Okay, so it wasn't even in the car.
It was in the car.
It was in the car, but it wasn't working.
Correct.
You get bills, don't you? For your cell phone, or is it a track phone?
It was a prepaid phone.
Okay. So after purchasing it, there's no like bills in the mail or nothing, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you ever heard that those types of phones sometimes are referred to by people who are less than law-abiding as burners?
I've heard that before.
And it's because there's no records of them. Does that make sense? For the communications.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's the kind of phone you had, isn't that true?
That's correct.
Let me go back a minute. There was a question posed to you about the demeanor of Mr. Tilley upon leaving the Live Oak pawn shop, and he asked, how did Mr. Tilley act? And when he left, and you said he disagreed with Mr. Jones's opinion about the value of the ring. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
But you went on to Lake City just as he had advised you.
That is correct.
And we know because we have the video evidence of such. Mr. Donaldson, your boyfriend of 4 years, he had a phone too, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
Was it a track phone?
I'm not sure.
Okay. But it could be,
Possible.
possibly. Does he keep it on his person, or was it left in the car while you were parked in the parking lot?
I don't know, sir. I was in the driver's seat,
Okay.
and I don't know what was left in the backseat of the
Okay.
vehicle.
So it's not possible that you were communicating with Mr. Donaldson about where you should park the car and what shape you should park the car and how you should park the car. He had no communication with you, did he?
It's not possible because I had no service on my phone to communicate with him.
Right. Whatever happened to that phone?
Juvie took my phone.
Juvie took your phone. Against your will?
No, I gave it to him.
Okay. Now, after you left the pawn shop, your impression was that Juvie at the pawn shop had done nothing more or nothing less than try to sell or have the ring appraised again at the pawn shop. Isn't that correct?
On the 18th, yes, sir.
Okay. I'm talking about the one in Lake City.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I should have been more clear.
yes, sir.
And did you ever witness when Juvie drive? Who was the driver to the place where you parked or someone parked next to the metal shed place, and it was the car was kind of parked in an awkward position? Who was that?
Juvie was driving, and then when they exited the vehicle, I got in the driver's seat.
Okay. Did you ever see or overhear Mr. Tilley shout out to the people at that place, tell them that you will be back soon and the car won't be parked where it was very long?
Yes, sir, he did.
Okay. Did he appear to be hiding anything?
No, sir.
So after you leave Lake City, you've testified in response to the state's questions about how the plan came about to rob the Live Oak pawn shop, correct?
Correct.
And I noticed, and I know the reasons why, you never referred to those discussions as between you and Mr. Tilley. You said we. Do you remember that? We discussed this. We planned this. Do you remember that?
I did say we.
Okay. Now, I expect that you're going to say now we was just you and Mr. Tilley, correct?
All three of us.
All three of you. You go into the pawn shop. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. The video is what it is. And Mr. Durrett pointed out to you, why did this person, who you say now is Juvie, or Mr. Tilley, put his arm around you?
I don't know why he put his arm around me.
He's never done that before, has he?
Yes?
He has? You're not a couple, are you?
Nope.
Just a affection, maybe, I don't know. Can you explain why he did that in the store?
Probably because I was nervous.
Okay. That wasn't Aaron Donaldson in the store, was it?
No, sir, it was not Aaron Donaldson.
No. Who's taller?
I believe Aaron is taller.
He's kind of thin built, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Rather dark complected?
No, he's not that dark.
Okay. It really is in the eye of the beholder, wouldn't you agree? No, okay. You made some purchases after the robbery, as you say it took place. And you made some before. Do you remember what was done with the receipts from the purchases from Walmart of the gator clothes as you've described? Who had the receipts?
They were not purchased, they were stolen.
They were stolen, okay. Then there wouldn't be any receipts, thank you. And who stole them?
I did.
So really you've committed 3 crimes of dishonesty. You just ain't been caught on one of them, but thank you. Who paid for the hotel? You said Juvie paid for the hotel.
Correct.
That was in Lake City?
Correct.
Now you can't steal a hotel room, wouldn't you agree?
Okay.
Where did the form of receipt, if you know, go with that?
To the person he paid to put the room in the name.
Okay. Did you ever recall while you were in Juby's car, as you've described, any receipts inside the car?
No, sir, I wasn't looking for any.
Okay. 11 o'clock, was it on a Saturday? What time was it when you and Aaron Donaldson split from the hotel? You had a friend bring you, come and get you and take you back to Tallahassee?
Yes, sir.
What date was that?
That was on a Monday.
Yeah.
At about 11 o'clock at night.
Okay. And then I think you said all of the proceeds, at least at this point, the things that were stolen, you gave to Julie.
Correct.
Didn't Mr. Dawson have some objection to that?
No, sir.
And you mentioned that a gun was thrown out the window.
The gun, the 2 sweaters, and a ring case was thrown out of the vehicle.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing I don't understand. Why don't you admit that Mr. Donaldson had the gun that was stolen from the pawn shop? Because nobody's talked about the gun stolen from the pawn shop, and you know he's the one that did it.
That's not correct, sir.
That's not correct. It's not correct that you would protect your boyfriend of 4 years, the one that was seen acting as a couple in the pawn shop in Lake City, and then again the same behavior at the pawn shop in Live Oak. That has now become juvie.
You can clearly see that it's Juvie on the video, sir.
You can. I don't even want to talk about eyewitness identification. Thank you very much.
You spray your area there, please, Mr. Mullins. Thank you. Thank you. You right?
Yes, sir. Can I approach the witness?
Yes.
I want to show you, Ms. Fender, what's marked ID purposes only, states Exhibit 47. Do you recognize that individual?
Yes, sir, that's Aaron Donaldson.
Aaron Donaldson, is this a fair and accurate representation of Mr. Donaldson?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we'd offer in evidence what's marked as states Exhibit 47 ID purposes, that states 47.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
47 is admitted.
Are you still in a relationship with Mr. Donaldson?
I haven't spoke to him since my arrest, sir, so I would say no.
Are you prepared to testify fully and truthfully in any prosecution involving Mr. Donaldson?
I will, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No, sir, nothing further.
Anything based on, sure. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, you testified that you're hoping to get a 7-year plus 7-year probation deal out of this case. Didn't I hear that from you earlier?
7-year DOC, 10 years probation.
Okay. And Mr. Durrett said that the judge would have to approve that.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, was that your understanding of the plea deal that the state has given you for your testimony here? Or is that just your hope, that specific
That's what
deal?
I'm hoping.
It's what?
That's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. How did you come up with 7 years followed by 10 years probation? How did you come up with that?
The plea is that the state will ask for no more than 10, and I can counteroffer for what I feel is fair.
Okay. And if I'm correct, you were the person depicted in the video smashing the jewelry box glass and grabbing the jewelry after the man has been shot and you run out of the store.
That is correct.
Okay. I don't see where any time you attempted to help the man.
Correct.
You knew it was going to happen, and you knew it was your boyfriend, didn't you?
It wasn't my boyfriend.
Why would your boyfriend allow you to knowingly go into a pawn shop with someone else and had a firearm? I mean, he's just like, see you later? Because it was your boyfriend.
It wasn't.
Your Honor, I don't have the means to play it, but I would like, if we could, there, I've furnished in discovery to you more of a video of him at the pawn shop and where his image appears. I just don't have the means to play it.
is the exhibit you're talking about in evidence?
I believe it is. It's,
They have it. Is it something he's after in evidence?
it's already been in there.
Okay. You just want to display it?
Yes, I don't have any names. Yes. Yeah, that's, yeah, just where it's closer than what we've seen so far. I don't know. I mean, if it ain't, I'm just wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. We can think of it, but want to play the video?
Well, I don't want to waste your time playing golf, but I just know there's close for shots. You know, what, let's wait, let's let you finish, and I'll look at it, and then if I can find it, I'll put it on my side of the page. Okay. Your Honor?
Yeah.
What we decided is for economy time, I'm going to use it, I'll put it on my side of the page. Oh, you won't waste it.
Okay. Any further questions at this time of the witness then?
No.
Okay. Any redirect from the state?
No.
All right. You can step down. I assume she needs to remain, correct?
I'm sorry?
She's not excused from the rule here, correct? Somebody intends to call her back from what I just heard here, correct? Is that right, Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you remain under the rule of sequestration. You can go back, go with the deputy. Call your next witness, please.
Ryan Bunton.
Ryan Button. 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 Yeah, it is. Button. Ryan Button. I get you to raise your right hand to be sworn. Please, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Have a seat in the witness stand, please. And you may inquire.
Please state your name
Ryan Bunton.
and your occupation.
I'm a special agent with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
All right. Did you participate in the investigation of a shooting and robbery that happened at Gold Leaf Pond on April 20th of 2020?
Yes,
All right. As part of your, part of this investigation, did you obtain some records from Google?
yes, I did.
All right. And Your Honor, if I may approach the witness?
You may.
It's actually a composite, it's 19A through K. Do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes,
All right. Now, let me ask you, have you ever received records from Google in conducting a criminal investigation before?
yes,
All right. If a person has a Google account, can you obtain records that will include their internet searches?
yes. If they're
All right.
signed in.
Excuse me?
If they're signed into their Google account, then yes.
Okay. So did you obtain the Google account records for a person referred to in Google as Juvie Tilly?
I did.
All right. And the State's Exhibit 19, oh, first of all, those records that you received, were they in digital format?
Yes,
All right. State's Exhibit 19, are those hard copies of the digital format to the information that you received from Google for the Google account for Juvie Tilly?
Yes.
All right. And when you received those records, did they include a certificate of authenticity or record certification?
They did.
All right. Your Honor, I'd ask that State's Exhibit 19 be entered into evidence and published.
Any objection? No objection. 19 is admitted.
All right. What is 19A?
This is the certificate of authenticity for those records.
In the email address for these records, is it shown on there?
Yes.
What is the email address? Or the email? Yeah, the email address.
Healing Mudafai? Yeah. Filling up.
All right. State's Exhibit 19B. Does this show also the email address? Helene Mudafi?
Yes,
They also have a identifier number.
it does.
And State's Exhibit 19C, does it show that same identifier number?
Correct.
And the name on the user profile, what name is it?
Judy Tilley?
All right. Now, looking at State's Exhibit 19B. What does 19B show us?
This is searches for the internet through Google.
So, if I understand you correctly, those are for the user profile Judy Tilley. These are internet searches?
Correct.
All right. So for instance, at the bottom, it said search for, where it says jewelry store. Is jewelry store what was searched for?
Jewelry shops, yes.
Or jewelry shops, I'm sorry. Yes.
Correct.
And right underneath where it says jewelry shops, the search for, gives a time and date. Is that the time and date of the search?
Yes, in UTC time.
Okay. And it does say UTC there. What is UTC basically?
It is, I can't remember the exact wording for the correct time. Our Eastern Standard Time would be 4 hours less than UTC time for this area.
Okay. So is Live Oak in the Eastern Standard Time?
Yes,
Okay. So in order to convert UTC to Eastern Standard Time, in other words, to get the local time, you'd need to subtract 4 hours?
correct.
All right. So what is the date for the search jewelry shops?
April 19th, 2020.
And right above that, it says search for pawn shops. What's the date for that?
April 19th of 2020.
And at the top, it says search for gold leaf. What is the date for that search?
April 19th, 2020.
All right. Now, State's Exhibit 19E, what are we looking at here?
Again, the Google searches.
All right. Now, at the top, it says visited, and it gives what after it says visited?
2 suspects sought an armed robbery, attempted murder.
All right. And what date was that searched for?
April 21st, 2020.
April 21st, 2020? All right. Now, looking at State's Exhibit 19F. Are these Google Maps or location searches?
Yes,
Okay. And in the middle of State's Exhibit 19F, says maps, directions to. Is that a search for directions to a particular place?
correct.
And where is the search for location?
Walmart Supercenter, 6868 US 129 in Live Oak, Florida.
All right. And what is the date for that search?
April the 20th, 2020.
Okay. And what is the time for that search?
It's 1:25:55 p.m., which would be the UTC time. So 4 hours prior to that.
So that'd be 8:25 a.m.?
Yes. Or
9:25.
9:25.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 9:25 p.m. or AM, excuse me. All right. 19G. What are we looking at in States Exhibit 19G?
Again, it would be maps that were searched or a location for a map search in Google.
All right. So going down to the bottom, it said maps viewed area in Google Maps. What's the date and time for that search for map?
On which one?
The very bottom, April 20th, 2020.
Okay, at 2:04:45 p.m. again in UTC time. So it'd be 4 hours prior to that.
Okay. So that'd be 10 a.m. or 10:04 a.m.
Yes, correct.
And right above that is another Google search for area maps. What's the date and time for that?
April 20th, 2020, 2:06 p.m.
So would that be 10:06 a.m.?
Correct.
All right. Now, can you click on the maps to see is there a hyperlink there where you can click on it where it says maps?
Yes, the areas in blue are the actual areas of the viewed area Google Maps. When you click that, it will actually pull up the map that was looked at.
All right. States Exhibit 19H, what are we looking at here?
This is a portion of Live Oak, Suwannee County.
All right. Is that the map that was being searched for on April 20th?
Yes. One of them, yes.
One of them? And what area of Suwannee County is this?
This would be the area near I-10 at, see outside Ohio Street, the area of Walmart would be there, and Zaxby's on your left, as you'll see at the top, is just before the interstate, Interstate 10.
What is this a map of?
Same general area would be with more of the other side, I guess, or more of this side, the Walmart Super Center in Live Oak.
And was this States Exhibit 19I, is this the maps that was looked at 10:06 a.m. on April 20th?
Yes, should.
All right. Okay. Now, Exhibit 19J. What are we looking at here?
19. More Google Map searches
All right.
for viewed areas.
And all three Google Maps searched area times, are they on April 20th?
Correct.
And for these three that are shown on States Exhibit 19J, what are the times?
Again, 4:53, 4:50, 4:50 again.
All right.
In UTC, so it would be 12:50,
All right.
12:53.
All right. So are the times then converting UTC to Eastern Standard Time, April 20th at approximately 12:50, 12:50, and 12:53?
Correct.
And that would be 12:53, 12:50 p.m.?
Correct.
All right. All right, now looking at States Exhibit 19K, right in the center, it says directions to, and what city is that?
Lake City, Florida.
And what is the time and date of that, the search for the directions to Lake City, Florida?
April the 20th, 2020 at, again, 5:03 p.m. UTC time, which converted to be 1:03 p.m.
All right.
on April 20th.
All right. So if I understood you correctly, April 20th at 1:03 p.m., it was search for directions to Lake City.
Correct.
Now, at the bottom, it says locations around this area from your device. Can you click on there and see a map?
It does provide a hyperlink to a map.
States Exhibit 19L. Is this the map that if you clicked on that hyperlink that we just saw before, on directions to Lake City, is this the map that would be provided?
Yes.
Yeah. And what is this a map of?
It's the area of Live Oak, I-10 toward the west, and also US 90, which will also take you toward Lake City if you go westbound. I'm sorry, eastbound. Well, potentially in Lake City.
Thank you. All right, thank you. No more questions.
Very well. Can you sanitize? Cross-examination? Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm just going to ask you a few questions about your testimony you've given so far. You basically indicated, I think, three things you've testified about, and that kind of can be titled like 1250, 1250, and 1253. Maybe not. If I confuse you, just tell me. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what the different Google Maps are displaying in terms of the Live Oak, Gold Leaf Pawn Shop, and the Walmart. Is there information on here? And if there is, maybe I can understand it better if you can explain it, as it relates to the person or persons who have the ability to control and make these requests for directions, the time and the relationship to the Live Oak Gold Leaf Pawn Shop and the Live Oak Walmart. Now, if that don't make sense, I'll try to say it again and maybe not make it so compound.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused on what you're asking.
Okay.
asking.
The maps display obviously routes. And the state asked you some questions about different places on the maps. One of them was going east towards Jacksonville. Also, there was a mention of the Live Oak Walmart, I believe.
Correct.
What does this show in relation to the Live Oak Walmart and the person or persons who had the ability to request directions that these images, I believe, are displaying?
I guess if you're asking me who was the person that made the search for these?
No, I'm basically asking what is the search result in terms of the Live Oak Walmart and the Gold Leaf Pawn Shop? What do these maps represent in terms of giving directions to those two places?
I'm still kind of confused on your question. The search, that would be when the items are returned from Google, they are broken down in a digital format, and it'll be like a map search or an internet browser search, those type things. So the map search could be pulling up a Google map and putting a dot on a map, or at least looking at the area of the map like you would open a map and look at.
Yes.
It could be similar to that.
Okay. Is there directions on any of these exhibits to the Gold Leaf Pawn Shop in Live Oak that you're aware of, or the Live Oak Walmart?
No, sir, not specific directions to either of those.
Okay. Because in conjunction with this, I believe they was asking questions about what appeared to be requests for jewelry or pawn shops nearby.
Correct.
Okay. And it displayed images, I guess, as a response to that request. If it did, I don't know. I mean, I'm asking you.
Again, I'm a little confused on exactly what you're asking me, but
Okay.
a specific search for Gold Leaf was conducted from the internet browser, not
Okay.
directions to.
Okay. And that was
Map,
done.
the map would be a general location, as you stated.
And that was done on April 20th.
Somewhere on the 20th, I believe, and somewhere on the 19th. I'm not sure. Let me refresh. Yes, maps, the map search on the 20th, or on the 20th, correct?
Were any search requests for Gold Leaf Pawn Shop entered prior to the 18th?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So generally, in your experience, people who put these requests in are for places they don't know where they're at. Does that make sense? If they've already been there, they don't need this, correct?
Could be.
Have you ever been to a Walmart?
Walmart?
Yes. Where do you live? I mean, you don't got to tell me just the general area.
Columbia County, Florida.
Okay. You ever been to the Suwannee County Live Oak Walmart?
I believe so, yes, sir.
They have security cameras in there. They're nonstop running, don't they?
Can't advise. I would assume.
Yeah. Lets people know who goes in and out. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Collins. Any redirect examination?
Correct.
And is that an internet search,
Yes,
not a search for directions?
that's correct.
So a person that wanted to look for information about Gold Leaf, that's where they would go?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. No more questions?
Anything based on that, Mr. Collins? All right, you may step down. Thank you. And this witness be excused. Any objection? You're free to go. Thank you. Call your next witness, please.
No other witnesses, state rest.
State rests. Mr. Collins.
We need some more time to discuss that major decision. Not a lot.
Okay.
I got to get with that thing.
You plan to present?
Yeah, if it's what I remember.
Okay. All right. Members of the jury, there's a couple matters that need to be addressed outside your presence as well as preparation for the remainder of the case. It's about 3 o'clock right now, so it's probably time for recess anyway. We'll take a few extra minutes so as to not have you wait. During the recess, if you don't mind, go into the jury room. If you want to take a break, go to the restroom and that. But the jury room downstairs that you've been locating yourselves in when you arrive, if you don't mind, when you're finished with your break, go into that jury room. And if you wouldn't mind, please be in there by 3:20. At 3:20, we should be ready to go there shortly thereafter. Again, a reminder, the admonishment I've given you throughout the case will continue to apply. Any questions from any juror? Any requested instructions further from the state or defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and we'll reconvene here at 3:15, all of us. We'll be in recess.
Show me how to, I don't know, I just want to review that. I know I had some images, and if you didn't bring them, that's not your fault, that's my fault. But I think they come from that. It's the guy in the empire. You sent me some images of him more closely. They must have come from that video. They may not, but still, I got it. That's all I know. Called for pictures for, I got them, I just didn't bring them. Yeah, I just want to look at the video.
Screenshots from Empire?
That's what I got, I didn't bring them. Like to Aaron Donaldson. You don't call Aaron Donaldson, I got it, I just didn't bring it. Yeah, yeah, and the reason why I want it, they all look alike. Some, depending on the time, they're light, sometimes you don't.
That compilation?
Yeah.
It's short and it shows everything.
I understand. I just want to find it, and I won't waste your time.
Yeah.
I just
That's
don't
what I'm
wanna waste
saying.
the court's time. And I apologize, but it's already in the evidence. There he is. There he is. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, see? Now you get to see them both next to each other. And that's certainly different than that way that contrast is on that picture. Thank you. You're a good man. We'll do that. We saved it. That's me. I'll tell you what, I would do. Me, taking away some of the argument, I'll agree for you to real case. I'll put that. That's up to you. Yeah, I knew I had an image of it. You sent me that image, John. You disclosed it. But unlike other people, I don't fall asleep all the time. No, I think it's more. I think it's more. This would be sufficient if we could see it very clear. Y'all want to be on this time? It's up to you all. That takes away. I could shut my damn mouth. You know, y'all decide to come. And I have to put it in on my side. And this is what they didn't want you. And I have to bullshit it. All right, thank you, John. This is found. Seemed like weird. What was funny about the white guy in the car, he didn't say it. The sergeant from Lake City, he said it was about a white car. I heard it. Nobody else did. When we talk about I heard. Yeah, that's scary. Well, it's hard to hear. It is. Dude, I know, it's hard to hear all. Yes. Y'all are most excellent. Do you think you had like an actual picture too? No, I can't say. I know there's a closer, I had a screenshot. Closer of that. I have on paper copy. Furnished me the stuff. Listen, all of this. Yes. What way I was figuring out.
I mean, it's in, so, I mean, if you want us to have it queued up to the point where you want to, argue about it, as opposed to re-entering something that's already.
Yeah, it's already in. But, yeah, it's already in, so he's not stuck in here. All he needs to do is plant his hooks. Right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, he'll put it in the proper place.
We'll set you up to, play whatever part you want.
Would I need, by reference, I would need to what we'll do is when it comes time to my little Hail Mary, we'll, if you would, and we're at, okay, thanks.
7:45,
Yeah, I think anything back, it's maybe 7 seconds, 5 seconds. All right, thank you. Yeah.
I really want to.
He ain't good.
You're ready to go. I mean, what you stop.
All right, state now having rested, did you wish to make a motion at this point?
Your Honor, with all, I don't know, I'm not making them up, it's ridiculous. And I don't do things for no, just routine reasons. They've established a prima facie case with the standard of proof at this time, which is giving them every benefit of the evidence seen in the light most favorable to them. They have different videos, I can dispute who's on it, but we can put on the witness that they've said who it is. GPS information, they have rental information. That's about all I need to say. I'm not saying that because I think my client's guilty. That kind of emotion, question.
The court does find there is a prima facie case sufficient for the jury to make a determination as to the offenses charged.
Have you sanitized lately?
Yeah, I did. I just did that. I'm all clean. Thank you. Okay, so you rested. How do you plan to proceed?
We're going to rest after he tells you he don't want to testify, and you can ask him anything you want, Judge. I've talked with him enough. I'm satisfied.
Hold on one second here. You don't plan to present any evidence?
No, and I'm not going to give any,
Opening.
yeah, I mean,
If you're not going to present evidence, that would be kind of...
well, it's,
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Once we go through the colloquy, which I'm not sure we're going to do here on YouTube.
yeah, I agree.
Hold on one second here. Make sure that's all. Why don't we do this? We'll just go in chambers. That'd probably be the safest thing to do.